Nothing signals the arrival of a new season like Kirk's eponymous preseason awards show, setting the landscape for who will define this upcoming season. Kirk, we're not going to waste any time here. Here are some of the Herbie Awards that will be given out. Now, we're going to give best position players. We're going to talk about the ultimate Herbie, guys who mean a lot to their team. But you're a quarterback. Who's the best quarterback? Who are the nominees?
Well, we got three we're going to take a look at. Let's start with Nussmeier. Garrett Nussmeier, who's been around and played a lot of football, over 4,000 yards passing over the last 2 years, just only behind Joe Burrow. You know, he needs to cut down on the interceptions, but has a chance to have a monster year. They open with Cade Klubnik on the road at Death Valley against Clemson. We know that Klubnik went through some growing pains early in his career, has really matured and grown up, and really, I think, to me, has a chance to have a outstanding year for the Clemson Tigers. DJ Lagway, this young man, I think, is physically as gifted as any quarterback in college football. It's a team that I think has gotten better around him. The fact that this team did not quit last year tells me a lot about him, his leadership. Billy Napier, who was on the hot seat a year ago. I think the Gators are in a position to strike.
The Herbie Award for Best Quarterback goes to Clemson quarterback Cade Klubnik.
You know, Kirk, half of the preseason top 10 will start quarterbacks with 2 or fewer starts. Everybody wants to change quarterbacks. Clemson stuck with Klubnik, and man, is it paying off.
Yeah, it really has. And, you know, I think that's probably the most impressive thing is that when he was going through his struggles, Dabo Swinney said, hey, man, you're our guy. This is early in his career. In his first year as a starter, he had all that hype, all the expectations. People were expecting him to just walk in and be a Trevor Lawrence type of quarterback, and he had struggles. And I think he internalized some of that, dealt with it, fought through the adversity, and now in the back end, now he's a seasoned veteran going into his final campaign. I think he's in position with the players they have around him, again, to have a great start. I think it's exciting to have he and Garrett Nussmeier playing each other as experienced guys with big expectations going head-to-head in week one.
I know you're going to be able to call that game. Some of us have Cade Klubnik and his team as a preseason number 1 and believe that they're going to win the national championship. So long way to go before that. We'll see. And he's also got an upgraded wide receiver room, or guys who have matured from last year. But who are the nominees for the best wide receiver in the country?
Well, this is a heck of a group, and a couple of them true sophomores. Obviously, Jeremiah Smith, what he did last year, especially late in the year where he averaged almost 100 yards per reception in those 4 CFP games. He's physically as imposing as any true freshman I think I've seen since Adrian Peterson. Ryan Williams, this was his moment early in the year against Alabama or against Georgia, where Georgia fought all the way back, took the lead, and very next series, he comes back and makes one of the plays of the year to get on the radar. And the guy's still 18, doesn't turn 19 until February. Antonio Williams, talking so much about Clemson and Cade Klubnik, this will be one of his go-to targets. They have a great group of receivers, but it's led by number 0. And I really feel that, you know, you'll see the offense do a good job of moving him around, trying to showcase his skill set. But look at that group. All 3 of these guys definitely worthy of being up there as a top receiver.
The Herbie Award for Best Wide Receiver goes to Ohio State wide receiver Jeremiah Smith.
Last year, he was the preseason Herbie Award winner for Best Freshman. Now he's up to Best Wide Receiver, Kirk.
Well, it's hard to argue with what this guy did, and whatever the expectations were his freshman year, look at that one-handed grab. I think he exceeded them, and especially because of right there, from that point on, that reception early in that CFP game against Tennessee really set the tone for him and for Ohio State to obviously make their run to a national championship. Now, they're breaking in a new quarterback in Julian Sayin, breaking some new offensive linemen in. They got to replace their 2 running backs. So there's a lot that's going around him and this team. But I think we all realize the job that Ryan Day's done and his staff in recruiting and developing. And even though there are a lot of new pieces, you still expect this offense with a new offensive coordinator still to be hitting in full stride.
Had the game-sealing play in the national championship game during the postseason, averaged nearly 100 yards per game receiving. Sky's the limit. Just get that quarterback a little settled in, and Jeremiah Smith certainly a great asset to have to be able to do that. But then there is the responsible opposing view, the defense. This is off-ball linebacker, sort of your traditional linebacker type guy.
Yeah, middle linebacker Anthony Hill, who Jeremiah Smith and the Buckeyes will see, obviously, next week in week 1. This guy does it all. He plays off-ball linebacker. They'll also put him on the edge on obvious passing situations. As pretty of a linebacker as you're going to see, and wears that zero very, very well. How about Sammy Brown and what he did as a freshman All-American last year? Again, Clemson. Now he's got a new defensive coordinator. I think the reason I'm bullish on Clemson isn't just Cade Klubnik. It's Tom Allen coming in to help this defense get back to their standard. Ernest Hausman, the transfer from Nebraska, has done a great job in Ann Arbor, really provides leadership for this defense. The folks in Ann Arbor and Sherrone Moore, now that the NCAA penalty and sanctions are behind them, have huge expectations, and number 15 is kind of the alpha of that defense.
The Herbie Award for Best Off-Ball Linebacker goes to Texas linebacker Anthony Hill Jr.
This guy can do it all. He rushes the passer. He's sideline to sideline in the running game. Field Yates has him as a top 10 prospect, Kirk.
Yeah, and he should. And I think anytime you see a guy walk into Texas with his size as a true freshman and get a chance to play as many reps as he did as a freshman, backed it up last year with a huge sophomore campaign, and it just got length. You don't see linebackers built like him in 2025 with that kind of length, ability to go sideline to sideline, and then to be able to be versatile, like an Abdul Carter, where he can, early in Abdul Carter's career, he was an off-ball linebacker, then he ended up being a defensive end and obviously picked in the top 5 of the NFL draft. Anthony Hill is an off-ball linebacker, but like you said, Rece, he pressures the quarterback, and if they're going to knock off Ohio State, Colin Simmons on one side, Hill blitzing and coming off the edge, they're both going to have to have big games.
Kirk, what are the biggest questions for the teams we believe will be contenders?
Well, let's look at this. And obviously, there's other teams who are contenders. I just thought it was interesting that some of these behemoths have some concerns. You know, let's start with Texas. You have offensive linemen that are going to be breaking in. It's a team that really has big expectations with their offense, but you lose Kevin Banks. You're breaking in a new quarterback in Arch Manning. Is Arch Manning that guy? Everybody's talking about him. I think we believe he is, but until you see it, it's a fair question. Let's go to Ohio State. Again, a team that lost their quarterback. Julian Sayin is announced as the starter, replacing Will Howard. Is he ready to be the guy? So much leadership lost off that defense. All of now, those guys are in the NFL, but Caleb Downs is back. Georgia, Gunnar Stockton, is he the guy? You see this theme, like question marks at new quarterbacks at behemoth programs. So that's the one question. Who are the playmakers? Drops an issue last year, miscommunication at times of the routes with Carson Beck. They lost Michael Williams, Jalen Walker, so they're going to have to find some pieces, but the way they recruit, you got to have confidence that Georgia will be okay. Penn State, team that everybody thinks can get it done. They've lost 8 straight to Ohio State, and it's just a fact. James Franklin 1-16 against top 5 teams since he's been at Penn State. Is this the year that they can get it done? And who are these wide receivers from the portal? Hudson from USC, Pena from Syracuse, Ross from Troy. They've got some new faces, but will they blend with Drew Aller? Clemson. The only question I really see here with all that experience back is who's the running back? The former wide receiver, Adam Randall, has a chance. You got a true freshman. So I think we're excited to see what they can do. And we mentioned Tom Allen coming back to get this defense back playing with the kind of the speed that you expect them to play with. Oregon, Dante Moore. You know, another question mark. Dylan Gabriel's no longer the quarterback. The transfer from UCLA had a chance to sit back and watch last year with Dylan Gabriel, get comfortable with the offense. So we'll see how they can do. And then with Evan Stewart down with an injury, they got to find some answers at wide receiver. So interesting that you expect all these teams to have great years, but I think it's fair to point out that they've got some hurdles to overcome.
Moore, as you mentioned, sat and watched. Many transfers, though, are expected to do it right now. How about the Impact Quarterback Transfer Award nominees?
Yeah, John Mateer, I think, is a guy that's getting a lot of attention, and he should. A dual threat guy, had a monster year at Washington State. Interesting that Brent Venables, in a year where they got a win in Norman, went out and not only got the quarterback, but he brought the 29-year-old offensive coordinator with him. How about Carson Beck, the transfer from Georgia? Dealt with a lot of pressure last year in Athens. At times it seemed to overwhelm him. Gets a chance to start over now at Miami. Miami paying some big dollars, and they got a great quarterback. Be interesting to see how he does. Another transfer quarterback, Fernando Mendoza. from Cal, had a great year last year, over 3,000 yards. Remember, Indiana had that year last year. But now they get a quarterback that's capable, but they face a much tougher schedule on the road at Oregon and on the road at Penn State. But Mendoza, from what I hear, has looked great in camp.
The Herbie Award for Impact Transfer Quarterback goes to Oklahoma quarterback John Mateer.
Led the nation, responsible for 44 touchdowns. And look, there's a little pressure on Brent Venables. They need to get the offense going here.
Yeah, they really do. And I think I love the hire of bringing in the young offensive coordinator. This guy just a few years ago, Ben Arbuckle, was an offensive coordinator in high school. And now he's an offensive coordinator at Oklahoma. And I think the quarterback, we know what he can do. He's big, he's strong, he can spin it. This is a team last year, all the focus on the quarterback, but they had all their top 5 receivers down with injury. So they're healthy now on the perimeter, obviously, and you got a quarterback with a new system and a must-win year for the Sooners. Remember, play Michigan week 2 in Norman, which will be a big test to kind of see where they are.
Give me some nominees of some things in this season that you just can't wait to watch.
Yeah, I can't wait to see. This is a huge storyline, and we get a chance in week 1 on Labor Day night to see him in a big test against TCU. Bill Belichick, the greatest coach in the NFL, in the college ranks. I mean, this is amazing. You'll be down there with me after we have a busy weekend. Can't wait to see how that plays out. Arch Manning, my gosh, I don't know if any players received this kind of hype and expectations. Cooper, his dad, his mom, done a good job of trying to keep him on the back burner. But the media has been talking about this guy for 3 years. Now he gets a chance to be the guy. And Kalen DeBoer, year 2 has always been a good thing for Kalen DeBoer. Whether you go back to his days in NAIA at Sioux Falls, when he's always found a way to get it done at Fresno, at Washington, and now year 2 in Tuscaloosa to see what Kalen DeBoer can do.
The Can't Wait to Watch Herbie Award goes to UNC head coach Bill Belichick.
A few days ago, I was in Chapel Hill, spent some time with Chapel Bill. I tell you, optimism is reigning supreme there. Maybe not from Bill, but from everybody else around it.
Yeah. Well, you would know having a chance to sit down with him, but I can't wait to see him bring that same blueprint that worked so well in the NFL for so many years into the college ranks. You look at their schedule, it's favorable. Mac Brown left some talented players. He brought in obviously a ton of new players, but I think we're anxious to see just the fundamentals, the old school way of playing the game, and how these young players pick up what he's trying to send, the message he's trying to send to them, and a culture that he's trying to create.
I know that opener's not a conference game, but when that, maybe they're a sleeper. Who have you ID'd as your sleeper for the ACC?
Well, I'm going to go with, again, there are some teams to pick up, and the UNC could be in that discussion, but I'm going to go with Georgia Tech and Brent Key. I mentioned earlier how I think they've gained a lot of confidence late in the year with the way they played close against Georgia, came up short, won their bowl game, and now they got Haynes King coming back, and I think a lot of confidence in where this program is. So do not sleep on Georgia Tech. They open up with Colorado early in the year, so we'll see how good they are. And my ACC champion is Clemson. We've talked on and on here early in this show about what we think they can do. Cade Klubnik, obvious. And this team, I think, has a chip on their shoulder, anxious to get back to the top of the mountain, not just in the ACC, but I think in all of college football.
Lee Corso always likes to say, if you fire a short coach, you're going to hire a tall coach. You fire a skinny coach, you're going to hire a fat coach. Yeah. So who did the best job of changing it up and hiring a new head coach?
Well, I don't know about all that. I just know Rick Rod. I don't know how he fits into this category, but man, does it look good. I love to see him in that West Virginia polo. Just so glad he is back. I'm so excited to see what he can do. Did a really good job in 3 seasons at Jacksonville State, but he's back where he belongs, back home in Morgantown. Of course, Bill Belichick. How do you bring up a best coaching hire and not name the best coach to ever do it? So excited to see him in college football. Cannot wait to see the impact he has on this program and trying to take them and be competitive in the ACC. And then the last one, I think, is Barry Odom at Purdue. 20-8 in 2 seasons at UNLV, including 11-3 last year. And, in 4 seasons at Missouri, made 2 bowl games. So Purdue has just been a kind of a forgotten team in West Lafayette in the Big Ten. And Barry Odom, I think, will get the Boilermakers back and being competitive once again.
The Herbie Award for Best Head Coach Hire goes to West Virginia head coach Rich Rodriguez.
Corso's philosophy was based on you have to do something opposite if you change coaches. West Virginia, they went back to what worked and what was familiar 17 years ago.
No doubt about it. And I think we talked about intensity of Tom Allen. We know what Rich Rod's going to do. And how about him with his press conferences? We got a character back in the limelight, which I just love to see. He's just very direct. He's like, they got everything here. If you guys, we got an ice cream place back here. We got sprinkles. We got it all. These guys got more than they need. So he's going to be a lot of fun. And, boy, they got a huge game week 3. They need to beat Ohio early. But week 3, the backyard brawl against Pitt at home, can only imagine what that scene will be like. So just fired up. It would have been easy to pick Bill Belichick, obviously. But I think just throwing some attention to what they did at West Virginia is very, very deserving. Take it to the house. All right, let's start with Jeremiah Love at Notre Dame. We had a chance to see him in a playoff game against Indiana. We know exactly what he's capable of doing, 98 yards. And this guy, you can see that brace on the right knee, dealt with that late in the year. Healthy, obviously, after an offseason. Just great to see him back. Cannot wait to see what he can do with C.J. Carr. Ryan Williams, he had some moments. I think you want to see more consistency from Ryan Williams, having chances to make plays like this. Not just the one spectacular play, but more plays I expect to see from him this year. And Desmond Reed, you talked about Pitt earlier, 5'8", 175. It's almost like a Darren Sproles in the way they can use him. Run game, pass game, punt returner, just unbelievable. Anytime you can get his hands on the football, you expect the potential of big plays happening for the Pitt offense and the special teams.
The Take It to the House Herbie Award goes to Alabama wide receiver Ryan Williams.
Ryan Grubb, an offensive coordinator now, 2nd year in the system. It'll be fun to see what Williams can do.
Yeah, it really will be. And I think with Ryan Grubb, I think you'll find different ways of moving him around instead of just putting him in one spot. 2nd year of playing college football, second chance to go through the SEC. I think he now has a greater expectation. Very skinny, just raw. What did he play at 17 years old last year? Mm-hmm. He's now only 18, but he had a chance to get bigger, understanding of the offense, understanding of the competition. Just want to see, instead of those 1 or 2, like, wow, did you see that? Love to see him do it every single week.
I think they may have the opportunity to do that. Everything seems a little more settled in Tuscaloosa right now, which understandably so after the transition. What about the nominees for an athletic freak? And we mean that in the kindest way possible.
We sure do. Kenyon Sadiq in Oregon. Look at this guy. He's up to 255 pounds now. He came in at 220. Vertical is almost 42 inches. Power clean 365. Bench press is 435. What a specimen. Jeremiah Smith. Enough said. He was a specimen as a true freshman. Said he can do 20 reps at 225, and he's only a sophomore. You know about his size of his hands, know what he can do. I think he's up to 23 miles an hour right now on a treadmill. Damon Williams, the quarterback at Washington, started the last 2 games of the year. He's only 5'11", 190, but he runs a 4.4. And I think he has a chance now as the guy in the Washington offense, not just to run and scramble around, but really a chance to get comfortable throwing the football and just, I think his ability takes this Washington offense to a whole different level.
The Athletic Freak Herbie Award goes to Ohio State wide receiver Jeremiah Smith.
Physically imposing like David Boston, hands of Garrett Wilson, route running like Jackson Smith and Jigba or Marvin Harrison. So he's got it all, Kirk. He's got everything.
Speed of Joey Galloway.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's quite up at that level, but wow. And late in the year, I think Chip Kelly gave the blueprint for Brian Hartline and for Ryan Day of how they're going to move him around. That last play from from Oregon, really in that Rose Bowl. They motioned him, they lined him up in different areas, used him as a decoy at times to get the automatic double team. Opens it up for either the run game or other weapons that they have. Now have Max Claret tight end, so it's only going to open up the middle of that field and give him a chance. But, yeah, we know what Jeremiah Smith is and how fitting for him to be the athletic freak that award for this year.
As for the conference race in the Big Ten, who's your sleeper?
Well, we talked a little bit about Illinois, but I also think another team that could be a sleeper is Iowa. Mark Gronowski from South Dakota State. He's a quarterback, started 4 years at South Dakota State, won 2 national championships at the FCS level. Remember, they get Oregon and Penn State at home. They do not play Ohio State or Michigan. So Kirk Ferentz, I think, has a team that could make a run and a team that could definitely be a sleeper. They're a sleeper every year. The winner in the Big Ten, I'm going with Penn State. This I think James Franklin has his best roster he's ever put together. An experienced quarterback in Drew Aller, who passed on the NFL. Both of those running backs back. Only question, you got to replace Tyler Warren, who is so big in that offense. But going with Penn State. I think it's their year to get over the hump and win some of those top 5 matchups.
Every episode of the Herbies builds to the ultimate Herbie. Kirk, give me a quick description of what the ultimate Herbie is to you, and then let's see your nominees.
I think the ultimate Herbie is not only a guy that impacts his team on the field, but off the field. Tremendous teammate. The intangibles are there. Great leadership. Just a guy that kind of buys in, loves the game, loves kind of a throwback to his approach. So in this era of NIL and portal, just a player that really engages with his teammates and makes a difference. I'm going to start with Caleb Downs at Ohio State. You know, we know what Caleb Downs can do. Obviously, their run to a national championship, #2, was used in so many different ways. But you talk to Ryan Day, you talk to his teammates, they tell you he makes as big of impact in the meeting rooms and off the field as he does on. Michael Taft from Texas, same kind of guy that really had to earn his way in Austin, Texas, all the way to the point where he's become not only a starter, but a guy that they turn to provide leadership. He's played in so many big games and, again, provides a lot off the field. Diego Pavia. Has anybody watched the Netflix special of episode 3? How do you not fall in love with he and Clark Lee and what this guy means to this program? It's unbelievable what he's been able to do to get this school and this team to believe. And obviously off the field, we know what he does from an intangible standpoint.
The ultimate Herbie Award goes to Ohio State safety Caleb Downs.
Buckeyes have a lot to replace. You might as well start with having the best offensive player in the country in Jeremiah Smith and maybe the best defensive player, maybe the best leader in Caleb Downs.
Yeah, that's a great point, Rece. A lot was lost off that national championship team. I would really point to the defense. I mean, you had a lot of 3- and 4-year starters, so a lot of production and a lot of leadership. So Caleb Downs is not only a guy that they're going to be able to turn to be versatile within the scheme, but with Matt Patricia as a new defensive coordinator. But as you said, I mean, you're going to have him back there communicating, making sure everybody's on the same page. You got Arch Manning in week 1. They're going to come out with Sark with some unique formations because they just played each other late last year. They're going to have to turn to #2 to get them right, along with Sonny Styles, to provide that leadership. But very fitting award to me with the ultimate Herbie going to Caleb Downs, who, again, does it all.
You want this, you got that. No way, watch them walk right past you. Run fast while you have the chance. Don't speak, let them look right at you.